Huge win for election integrity. My friends, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals just took a sledgehammer to the Democrat Party's attempt at blocking Donald Trump's mail-in voting scheme, his executive order, which would block the United States Postal Service from delivering mail-in ballots to states who have not yet verified the citizenship status of their voters. This means that the Democrat Party have now lost twice. First, a district court, and now the appeal. The Trump order still stands, and that means full steam ahead for election security, or at least as much as possible without congressional action, i.e. with the SAVE Act. This knockdown by the courts is a big deal. This is a huge win for election integrity, so let's break this all down. The official judgment from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, filed July 28th, yesterday, basically shot down the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, the DCCC, the DNC, the Democratic Governors Association, Chuck U. Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries. These a-holes wanted a preliminary injunction to stop the Executive Order 14,399. This is the one directing the Department of Homeland Security, the USCIS, Social Security, and the Postal Service to start developing citizenship verification lists and proper procedures for mail ballots. And if you don't follow the orders, they will block you from getting your mail-in ballots delivered. Now, District Court Judge Carl Nichols denied this attempt at an injunction. They had already lost an attempt to stop this back in May 28th, when District Court Judge Carl denied their injunction. This time, a three-judge panel, Millett, Wilkins, and Katsas, just said, nope, sorry, Democrat Party. We're going to affirm what the Trump administration is doing here, at least for now. And the key point of contention that the court made is this. The executive order isn't self-executing, meaning agencies still have to act consistent with the law. So right now, there is no concrete harm that the Democrat Party can point to say, stop this from happening. So there is no reason to have an injunction. It's nice to see the courts actually work in the favor of the American people once in a while. Now, if agencies under this directive step out of line later, then the Democrat Party can try to sue them. But for now, the order stands. And that means that the Trump plan is going to move forward.
Take a look at this. Okay, the Democratic Party net favorability. Back in 2018, when Democrats were able to take control of the House, they were actually on the plus side of the ledger. They were actually in positive territory at plus 1 point. Look now in 2026. We're not just talking down there underneath the Potomac. We're talking down there with the Titanic. We're talking 24 points underwater. And this is just the party overall. This isn't the congressional leadership. This is the party. The party. It's just a terrible brand. Terrible. I want to almost get my Charles Barkley. Terrible. I can't even do a Charles Barkley. But the bottom line is it's absolutely terrible.
All of this is a big deal. See, this is a huge deal because if we look at this objectively, there is overwhelming support nationwide for proof of citizenship, specifically when it comes to who should be allowed to vote. Everybody knows this. This is absolutely insane to try and argue otherwise. None of this should come as a surprise to anyone. The American people believe in a fair deal. They believe in our system of government. And part of that belief is the idea that our voting system should be for American citizens to vote, and that you shouldn't have rampant cheating. I mean, come on. There is no one in their right mind who would be for the current system of no verification, anyone goes, especially with 25 to 30 million people in the country, unless you are for cheating. You are pro-cheating. If you are for corruption, then of course you would want the system as is to stay in place. But normal people don't want corrupt elections. They want to believe in their system of government. And having corrupt elections does not let them have that peace, and also perverts the Americans' will. Everybody knows this. The Democrat Party, my friends, knows this. But they don't care. They are actively working against the will of the American people, including their own voter base. Which leaves me to the only logical conclusion, which is they want a certain level of cheating. Or at the bare minimum, they want the mechanism for cheating to be in place in case they might need it somewhere down the road. Maybe if there's a new Donald Trump with a new Adolf Hitler, the new mad painter that they have to stop. They need the cheating tools in place. I guess that makes perfect sense if you're insane. The Democrat Party's actions don't make any sense otherwise. It just doesn't. No one in their right mind, my friends, who cares about honest elections, who cares about American citizens having their will upheld, could be against anything that Donald Trump is doing here when it comes to election integrity, both trying to rein in mail-in ballots and trying to force in the SAVE Act with voter ID. Everybody understands the consequences of the system that the Democrat Party has ensured would take place have enshrined. And yet, despite the public saying, hell no, we need to put a stop to this, the Democrat Party just keeps doubling down. For example, let's take New Jersey, who have been in the spotlight lately because, my God, the corruption there is bigger than anyone thought. So, as most of you know, they got caught with at least 6,600 people who were on the voting rolls, who were illegal. They were not citizens. And you had follow-up numbers by the Trump administration claiming at least 35,000. And yet, the corrupt governor there is still trying to protect these aliens. Check this out.
The Trump administration is seeking, I believe by today, the list of non-citizens who are registered to vote and the approximately 400 that did vote. To what extent will your administration comply with the Trump administration's request in that regard?
As I have said, I am not in the habit of turning over private identifying information of the citizens of New Jersey. This federal government is weaponizing the government against individuals that disagree with them. They weaponized my private data against me in my election, and so I am working to protect people and their private data here in New Jersey.
So essentially, Governor Mickey can't even deny that the corruption is happening. She knows and has publicly admitted that thousands of non-citizens were registered to vote. And of course, she's trying to blame the so-called DMV's automatic voter registration system error. And yet, when the federal government is demanding information on these illegal aliens who are in the voting system, she's just saying, no, I'm going to protect them. Can't have them being brought to justice. I mean, who is this crazy kidding here? She is doing her absolute damnedest to protect the cheating in her state. She knows that this is a clear and present danger for the safety and security of our election system. You cannot have untold tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands, or even millions illegally registered nationwide when all is said and done, I would guess, in our voting rolls across the country, and expect that our system of government can maintain itself. This will tear this country apart, and it must be stopped. The corruption must be purged, and those who protected it absolutely have to be gone after with the fullest extent of the law possible. And I think if this governor fails to protect American citizens' sacred right to vote, she should face severe punishment herself. At least in my book, that's what should happen to her. Now, the Democrat Party, my friends, they are playing the stall tactic. They are hoping, hope against hope, that they can outlast and survive Donald Trump, and that whoever is in power next will just move on from this national scandal, whether it is them who gets back into power, God forbid, right now with the socialist rise within their ranks, or whoever else is there. They're hoping that it'll just move on to something else. But this is a very, 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 very dangerous game that the Democrat Party is playing, especially considering that the public is extremely unhappy with the Democrat Party for a whole host of other issues. This includes the never-ending hate, both against Donald Trump and our very foundation as a country, including people who might vote for Donald Trump. They're all evil and bad. They're deplorables. They hate capitalism. They hate voter freedom. That's why they're pro-cheating. And let us not forget their embracing of communism through its counterpart, socialism. They're just two sides of the same coin. And on and on and on it goes. And the American people can see the destruction of the Democrat Party. I mean, the party of Clinton in the 90s is dead. I mean, Donald Trump would have fit nicely in the old Democrat Party. But that era of mostly rationalist Democrats is long gone.
Voters favoring photo ID to vote. Among all voters, we're talking 77%. And this is uniform, basically, or universal, I should say. Universal. Democrats, 62%. Independents, 77%. Republicans, 95%. This is something that is popular across the political spectrum. It is a rare thing that is popular across the political spectrum. When it comes to voter ID, the voters are with President Trump on this, whether they're Democrats, independents, or Republicans. Overall, very clear. We're talking about 3 in 4 overall who support the idea of photo ID.
So, despite all the propaganda that you might have been hearing in the media that Trump is despised, that Republicans are in free fall, and that they're in deep, deep, deep doo-doo, when it comes to the upcoming midterms, polling is showing the exact opposite is happening. It is the Democrat Party that is actually in free fall. It is the Democrat Party that the American people, to a large extent, despise. Republicans are leading on the economy. They're leading on crime, immigration, which means the blue wave that the Democrat Party has been counting on since the beginning of this year is disappearing. It is dissipating. It almost seems to be no more than a dream at this point. And if election corruption somehow can be purged, both through this executive order by Donald Trump and potentially the SAVE Act, my guess is that the Republican Party might well see more seats added to their lead than the Democrat Party making any gains come November. Now, admittedly, that's a bit of a stretch to say. At this point, we are still 3 months away from the elections, and anything could happen before then. But as it stands, the Republican Party is sitting in the driver's seat, as I see it. They are in command of their own destiny at this point. The Democrat Party is continuously taking L's, and right now their attempt at protecting voter corruption is not just failing, but the public is getting a first-hand view of how much they are fighting tooth and nail to protect obvious corruption. Basic integrity measures is overwhelmingly a GOP, a Republican, a Donald Trump thing. So the pressure will be high to force recalcitrant Republicans and Democrats, although let's be honest, I don't think anything's going to change with them, to get the SAVE Act passed. And when it comes to the Republicans, especially those 4 a-holes that are holding things up in the Senate, there will be a lot of pressure for them to nut up and get it done. And this is important, my friends, because the scandal about corrupt voter rolls is only unfolding. I'm only going to briefly touch on this here before I let you guys go today, but tip of the iceberg, this is a news story by Fox. New Jersey's illegal voting scandal is exploding with more key systems at risk. So this broke yesterday, I think. And essentially what this is oopsie doopsie, we find out that 75,000 non-citizens have somehow ended up on jury duty in New Jersey, meaning people who have no rights as American citizens have been judging American citizens in court. This kind of stuff has to stop. And I think when all is said and done, this corruption will spread to almost every state. I think it's going to be much, 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 much bigger than most people would have imagined even a year ago. To some of us, of course, this will not come as a surprise, especially considering everything we've seen over the last decade. So we'll have to keep an eye on this, and we'll see what happens as things continuously wind their way through the courts. But this is a good first step. It's good to see that the courts are actually standing up and saying no bueno to the Democrat Party right now when it comes to this, because this corruption must end.